All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Sport webinar. Today's date is Monday. This is November 18th, 2019. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is Clear Trade Setups with PowerTrend and Lines. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should ever be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. All right. Hey, Kurt, on your question, I'll get to that, as a matter of fact, about basic questions about drawing boxes too. Okay, so first off, let me just go over, I'm going to show a chart here real quick. Now this is just a blank chart because what I want everybody to know, first off, is this is the indicator called Object Trader Power Trend. Okay, now Power Trend is a very important part of our trading system because we look for retracements into mid-band and we look for retracements into phantom areas. And of course, the same thing goes for short trades too. Phantom trades, mid-band trades. Okay, so let's go over a little bit about the power trend first off. Okay, now the way we have set up the Object Trader Power Trend is simply, if you go to your indicators and right here under Power Trend, you can clearly see that a sideways up color is gold. Okay, an uptrend color on Power Trend is lime green. Okay, there's even another color which you don't always see, but there are different trade regions and trends that you can actually pull up on this little indicator. We're not going to go into those as much tonight because I deal with mainly the gold, the lime green, and then your session high color is your blue. Okay, so you're looking for gold for sideways in an uptrend color itself of lime green, and then your session high is blue. Okay, and on the downside, your sideways down color is pink, your downtrend color is fuchsia, and then your session low is red. Okay, and it's very important to remember those because, you know, the way you want to really trade most times, now you can get some scalps and everything, but most times you want to be trading with the trend, unless you're seeing an early trend change, which, you know, I talk about that in several webinars, like drawing trend lines and things like that. Okay, now if you have any problems with colors like this, we have made it to where you can change the mid-band colors, okay, to whatever you want them to be. So just simply, you know, click on them, and if you like a different color, just go for it. Just change it if you want. And remember, if you do change something, you want to right-click and set it as your default. Okay? Anybody have any questions on this so far? Because what I run into quite a bit when I'm doing support is, you know, people ask me, you know, well, what do you do when, you know, it's got the red color versus like this, you know, magenta or fuchsia color? Well, the difference in those is simply this is a downtrend, but this is a session low. That's still a downtrend, by the way. Okay, but a lot of times when you get this red, you know, like after a really good shot down, you know, a lot of times they can even go into trend changes, which, you know, you watch for that too. Okay, now the way we do this power trend is it's simply from line 0, okay, to line 8 is 48 ticks. Each one of these bands is exactly 6 ticks. Okay, each one of these bands is exactly 6 ticks. And I'm just circling with my cursor right now. Okay, so 6, 6, 6, 6 is 24, 6, 6, 6 is 24 more, 48. Okay, and we found that this works really, really well. Now, this is not a black box system, though. If you wanted to change that to 52 and you wanted to do that, you can certainly do it. You just simply click the button, and it's now a 52 range area. Okay, so if you're, you know, a little bit more into longer term trends or something, you could change this into a 100 tick if you want to. Okay, we're not advising that, obviously, because, you know, we believe that the 48 is really good at what we do. So let's go ahead and go back and put it back. See power trend. We'll put it back at 48. Now, anytime you put indicators on a chart, you'll always get this predictor, but you can hide them if you want to also. Okay. Now, when we talk about, certain areas that we're looking for a trade, okay, like this morning, to give an example on gold, I talked about a phantom type trade. Okay. Now, what you're looking for in phantom type trade is you're getting like a thrust and a deeper retracement into this line 2 to line 1 area. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit here in just a minute. Does anybody have any questions on this so far, though? Line 0, okay, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, now if you want to put lines on the power trend, you certainly can also. Okay, I did it personally where I don't like a lot of lines on my chart and everything, but if you want lines on these, see where we've got these transparented out? If you want a line on line 0, you can certainly do that if you want. Okay, you could put it on line 1, line 2, any. We just put them on line 2, line 6, and mid-band, and then we do the shadows, okay? And these shadows are really important because those are actually the areas that we look for, the pullbacks into nice deep retracements for a big up move on a long trend. And of course, on this one, you'd be looking more in this area on your short. Okay, and I'll go over exactly how to do a phantom trade too. Okay, all right, so everybody knows line 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And even on Object Trader, by the way, you can even put your trail stops with these lines, which is really important. Okay, because let's say, for instance, that I'd gotten in way down here. Let's say that this thrust up and I went for a mid-band trade. Let's see if it had a mid-band trade. Probably did. Yeah, see right in this area right here, there's like a mid-band trade that's set up. Okay, so could I actually use, for instance, line 4 as a trail stop? And you can on Object Trader, and I'll show that here in just a little bit too. Because when you get into a trade, you can tell it what trail stop you want to use on it. And that can be very powerful because you can just walk away from your computer and let it do its thing. For instance, oil that I remember right today pretty much broke down overnight, but you can pretty much tell where it was going to break down too, couldn't you? Let's see if we had a phantom trade real quick. Yeah, phantom trade right here. So, this is like a little swing low right here. So more than likely, if it broke this area, then probably even decided to head down afterwards if it broke that, because you're always looking at, lightning 3 for those pullbacks. Okay. Now, when you get these nice thrust and retrace, okay, where you get, for instance, a trend change and it thrusts up and it pulls right back in the mid band. These are trades that we look at to just simply box in. And the way you want to do that is pretty much in this little area right through here. This is your line 4 to line 5. Okay, we find that to work extremely well. That if you want to get in at mid-band exactly, I like to do that a lot of times, and then go ahead and add one if you break out of the box, and then put your stop underneath the low. Okay. And that's a good way to do it. Kurt was asking just a minute ago, for instance, how would you box this? Well, in this case right here, see where this actually changed directions from down to up, and it pulls back into mid-band? I would box it something like this, but I would fire the trade more than likely when it hit support, and you could look to the left and see that it's kind of tagging that support right across the way. Okay, and you'd probably see a lightning 3. We'll look at that in a little bit. Now, I don't like a big old box, for instance, like something like that. Hey, let's break out and come back in the box, and then you got to stop way down there. I don't do that. Okay, you want to really make sure your box is fairly in the area of about a 6 to 7 tick area, and try to take these trades, right off that mid band if they bounce and close a bar. You felt no heat on that if you did that. Okay. And always look, obviously, for, a good thrust, because this had to have come into this area more than likely and pulled back. We'll look at the actual chart here in a few minutes. But what I mainly want to show real quick, though, is the power trend and how you can clearly see, where to get into lots and lots of trades. Okay, I'm going to turn that off again. Anybody have any questions on, for instance, a phantom trade? Because a phantom trade is one of my favorite trades. I personally like a phantom trade probably as well as any mid-band trade because they're deeper. And if they go deeper like that, see, for instance, if this is stair-stepping up, mid-band stair-stepping up, and you get a nice phantom area trade, can that turn into, for instance, even a take out highs and everything? Absolutely it can. Now, when they've shot up quite a bit like this, you want to, if you take your phantom trade, you want to take some coin at mid-band, and then you want to watch the swing on the left, and if they tag it and they pull back at all, you can always get out of the trade at like line 6. Okay? Any questions on that so far? Okay. This trend to me, is probably the key to trading our system and the lightning. Let's see, Lisa said, started watching some vids today and they mentioned Band-Aid trades. Did the Phantom replace the Band-Aid? Well, Band-Aid trades, that's a good one, Lisa, because that was a little while ago when we used to do Band-Aid trades. But basically what a Band-Aid trade is the little boxes that we draw in the room. They're actually like your high energy times and things like that. So that's what you're really looking at. Yeah, you're starting the ground up. That's all right. Don't go too far back. Kind of stay with the webinars that are, within the last, say, few months, something like that. Is there a look back setting for OT alerts, Byron? Yeah, what you can do with the alerts, if you want to look at the alerts way back, just simply change your alert look back to something high on numbers. See, because that's looking back in minutes, 144,400 minutes. So that's like 100 days. Okay. So that's looking back like 100 days. If you have this set on like 30 minutes, then you're not going to see these alerts back here at all. Okay. So make sure that your alerts is at least set on like a day or something like that. I usually just open in mine, something like that, so it'll show them all. Keep in mind, if you've got a slower computer at all, you want to be careful with that though, because it'd literally look back 100 days and you'd see the alerts. For instance, mid-band short. See the mid-band short areas? See there? Those are mid-band short areas right there that you're going to want to be looking at boxing in. So when this thrust down and kissed mid-band, could you have boxed that in right there and taken this trade? And a lot of times what I like to personally do is if it comes above mid-band even a little bit, your best trade is when they come above mid-band on a short and then roll back through it. Okay? You don't want to box it something like this, because then you might not get any trade at all. That's way too big of a box. And plus, let's say that if you shot out of this box and then it went back up, you'd have to put your stop above the box. And you don't want to do that. So, you want to get in as tight as you can around that mid-band. If you go through what we call a trend change and first time into mid-band after a trend change. Now, keep in mind when, the market's just been going totally sideways. Okay, they're usually, as a rule, if they go sideways, they're going to change to the other direction. Or they're going to go sideways, do a phantom and then take off, but you probably won't get a red background or anything like that. Let's see, David's asking, must there always be a background color change preceding the phantom high probe trade? What are the higher probability phantoms? I'm glad you asked that, because what I consider to be the higher probability phantoms are this. If you go from one extreme to the other, then I'm looking for the first phantom. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not taking the mid-band trades too, but I'm looking for that first phantom after a trend change. Let's see where it was. Phantom short trade. Yeah, see right up in here? That's a phantom trade right there. Now, did it work out? I have no idea. We'd have to look at the actual chart, but that is a phantom trade right there. Let's see, can you go over use of in and out of box, Louis? Yes, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we're going to go through some trades here in a few minutes anyway. And what I mainly wanted to do right off the bat, though, even for the first 15, 20 minutes, is hammer this in of what this actually means of your line 0 to line 8. Because when we say, for instance, we're getting a line 7 phantom, we're not talking about a long. We're talking about a short. Okay? So when you know, for instance, this morning on oil, to give an example, I said that was a line 7 phantom, but there were some people that had already gone long up to phantom, and then it rolled over out of phantom. Okay? And if you want to stay on the right side of the trade, it is absolutely best to stay with the colors. Now, when they start going sideways like this, more than likely they're changing. This one didn't. It went down further, and then it changed. Okay? So, you know, could you still trade phantoms here, phantom here? This one probably didn't work because it did change. It did ratchet down, so that's a legit phantom. It might not have triggered, though, because you boxed it, and it might not have gone down. It went up instead. The definition of a phantom, PS on your question, a phantom is just simply, let me bring this chart over here real quick. A phantom, you have to go from one extreme to the other, which means the midband has to change colors from one color to the other, or it has to be in what's called ratchet mode. In other words, it's heading a particular direction, and you can still take another phantom. But it has to ratchet, which means that it breaks the previous low by, you know, X ticks, or it breaks the previous high by X ticks. I don't like them when they just barely break the previous high or low, because then your phantom doesn't work. But a phantom trade, if we call a short trade on phantom, see, I numbered these here on this chart for you. Line 0, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So when we talk about, you know, for instance, a phantom trade short would be this area right here is your phantom short. See here, line 7, right there where that line 7 is to line 6 area, that's a sweet spot for a phantom. Phantom stop, Louis? Personally, if I get into a phantom, I don't like them to go back in the shadow very much at all, because they'll usually hit their head right at line 7 and roll over. You'll see that time and time again. See, like that one there? That one hit right at line 7 and rolled over. Okay? And I can guarantee you that was a good trade. Matter of fact, let's just put the little short bars on it. See how it went out of it? Tested it and down. Okay? So that's a legitimate phantom. Why was it a legitimate phantom? Anybody? Well, because you went from one extreme to the other. Okay? And you're looking for the mid-band trade first. So you got 1, 2 of those, and then you got a phantom trade. And that phantom trade, by the way, went down quite a bit, all the way down to here. So if you boxed this at line 7 to 6 and took this trade like on that bar, you felt no heat, and you probably got out of the trade somewhere in this area right here. And that's definitely not a bad trade. Okay, so the definition of a phantom is one extreme, mid-band, long type colors. And remember, the long colors are yellow, blue, and lime green. All right, and your short colors are your pink, your magenta, and your red. And remember, the red is just simply the session low. And your sideways mid-band is pink. And then see, it goes to magenta and then red again in this particular instance. So, for instance, if you had taken this phantom right here, all you had to do is put your stop. I usually put my stop just right in the middle of the shadow. Because let's say that you did this and you saw this happening in real time and you said, okay, I'm going to take this trade. Then the moment it breaks out of this box, you could actually bring your stop all the way there with the close of a bar. I don't usually do it where it'll just wick it. And then see that trade actually went down. That's a perfect classic phantom trade. Then what would have to happen before taking another phantom? Ratchet. Louis, on your question, you have to ratchet. And what ratchet means is, see where you thrust down here and you did a phantom. They've got to break this swing here. And this did ratchet. Okay, this is a legitimate phantom again, even right over here. But keep in mind that the best way to make money on phantoms is take one, because they're deep retracements, and what they're trying to do is change trends. They couldn't do it, so they rolled over. What about here? Well, if you box this one in and it got you short, it quickly got you out and it went long instead. Okay? That's important, because, you know, that first phantom is a good 40, 50 ticks. This phantom would have stopped you out, even if you would have boxed it like this. And let's say you got short on that bar right there and it went back up in the box, you get out. Okay? Now, could you actually flip it there inside the box? You can, but you got to be careful with that, because they could fake you too. You could always box it, you know, if it decided to take out, you know, swing over here to the left or something like that, you could always get into it. Okay, so remember, first time into phantom after a trend change is roughly an 80 to 85% probability trade. Same way on the long side. So your phantom area right here, that's a 85% probability trade to at least go to mid-band or up to this previous swing over here. Now, the reason I'm not showing all the prices on this, I'm just showing these alerts, is so that you can clearly see that these type of trades work without seeing a bunch of other junk on a chart. Okay? All right, any questions on this so far? Because this will really change your trading. I promise you it will. Because like that gold, to give an example this morning, you know, there were other people that were thinking, hey, it's short time and everything. It ain't, pardon the expression, but it ain't short time until it quits ratcheting. See how this stair stepping's happening on these long trends? See how it just stair steps and stair steps and stair steps, stair steps. When it finally starts really flattening out, is it time to go short yet? Not yet. But probably if it takes out this phantom that we just saw, more than likely it would go down. Yeah, Gene said made $1,000 on that trade. So you actually bought this last night. Good. This is absolutely being recorded. I always record the webinars. Okay? And this is a good training webinar too, because if you'll train yourself to see this particular trade, you will find out that you can make some really, really good money on it. Okay? Now let's go to the chart. Now mid-band, you know, some people are asking like about mid-band trade. Remember, the mid-band trade is the same type of thing. You want to go from an extreme to a different extreme, and you look for that first one into mid-band after a trend change. Now, like I say, I personally like for a short type trade to go at or above mid-band and roll, and for a long to go at or below mid-band for a short, for a long, okay? The reason for that is because if it doesn't go deep enough like that, it's not usually a good enough retracement, and you're going to get, you know, some of those fake out trades. Yeah, you'll definitely receive a link for this. I'll put it on the webinar link that you just go to and watch our webinars. Anybody have any questions on this so far? And we're going to start now on some trades and going out of the box and things like that. This is ultra important though, because you would be surprised how many times in that room somebody will ask, is this a phantom setup? Well, that's what the webinars are for. The trading room's to trade. If you saw this trade and you said, okay, Gary taught that this is a phantom trade, do it in sim until you're absolutely positive that they work. Because if you took this trade on a phantom long, you'll see it flashing right through there, would you have made some money on that trade? And let's look at the actual chart and let's just see. Let's just go ahead and do it this way. We'll just say we got in at like line 2, and we'll see if it goes up. And I'm going to just go ahead and change templates. Template load, and we'll see what that did. See there? Hit the insert key, George, on your question, and I'm going to go over that too. Notice how that phantom, though, see how I had that exact chart? This was a live chart as far as, you know, real prices and everything on that last one that I showed. I was just showing it without price bars so we could, you know, go over exactly how to trade it. because it's important to know how to trade these things. For instance, that's a mid-band trade, but look at that. That went below mid-band. So more than likely you would have gotten in somewhere in through here instead. And keep in mind that what you're looking at when it's real time, let's just walk through this. What is this doing right at this moment? Is that heading up or down yet? Still heading down, right? Stair stepping down. But when it comes right on top of the previous support, like so, it bounced. Okay? Now, where would you box this in? Kurt was asking that just a few minutes ago. Let's see. Kurt says at 8:01:40, I drew a box encasing the yellow bars. It went up out of the box with a blue bar, so I went in. Did I draw the box wrong for the time? And I stayed to the bottom of the box and lost big. Any recommendations? Long entry, my box was 57.49 to 57.44. So 8:01:40, you're talking about, well, let's see. This is actually the 15th right here. So this was probably Friday that we're looking at right now. Yeah, what you want to do, let's say, for instance, you're a little more of a gutsy trader and you saw this happening. Let's just look at this. Let's say you're watching this and you say, you know what? If this went, touched mid-band and then bounced, like so, could you box that in right there? And if you did, and let's say that it goes out of it, like so, and then right back into it, you don't know, for instance, if they're still going to stair step down. So if they go out of it and do a little fake and then they go right back into it like that with that down bar, you can get out of that trade in a heartbeat. You know, just don't let them go against you. Don't put your stop all the way down here, because a lot of times they'll come a little bit deeper like so and then go up. Okay, so let's say if you took this, just like, remember Russell this morning faked a box. Okay, and you know, if you get a fake, you've either got to put a larger stop on it, and with a $5 instrument, I'm not so unhappy with that. But if I got filled like right here, for instance, let's say at 96, I don't want to give them all the way down to 84. That's 12 ticks. Now, granted, it did go ahead and go up, and that's what usually happens. If you want to get in the habit of them not biting you like this, always watch for an A, B, C. Okay? Now, you're going to miss some good trades because sometimes they'll bounce right off this mid-band and just take off like a bullet. Okay? But if you'll actually get in the habit of watching for this little movement like this, thrust, a little retrace, and another thrust to get an ABC, you'll usually get some pretty good trades. You just got to wait for an ABC. Okay? And also keep in mind, when you look to the left to trade the right, we draw lines in our room. You know, for instance, if we had been open, and we were on Friday, wouldn't we have drawn this line right here at support? And wouldn't you expect it to come at least to that support line? And it never did right there. And then it did right there. So could you be ready to take that trade then? Always look to the left to trade the right too. Okay. Now, one thing that you can also do is, let's say that if you did get faked in and you just want to hold like one contract instead, and then if it did go ahead and start stair stepping down and then boxed in mid-band again, you could always add one, and who knows, you might have gone up quite a bit. I always look to the left at Lightning 3, Lewis, on your question. Lightning 3 is really important because they come back and check them. Okay, let's see. Let me see if I'm going to show you how to draw that box, George, right now. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and go over here and let's look and see what we got here. All right, we're basically what, at just the start of 11:18, which was this morning, right? Okay, so you basically got like 58.09 for the high. You got this right here. So could you box this right here? Could you box this? Well, how about even like a trend line? So you can see a trend line across there, like so. Could you do that and see if you get a little trade? You want to just try it? Oh, we want to do a box though, because George wants to see a box. Let's do a box. All right, we'll go to Object Trader. We're in replay mode so that we can actually get some trades. Otherwise, it'd be so slow we couldn't do anything. But let's go ahead and put Object Trader on. All right. Now, the way you get a box on this chart that we teach, you know, when Charles shows his webinars, and I've run into this on support quite a bit. So, you know, he likes to show charts of what happened in the trading room and things like that, but he always says box it in, and he does like this. Well, that won't kick in Object Trader. Okay, with Object Trader, you're not just drawing a box from NinjaTrader. You're actually using a region, and you want to hit the insert button. It's going to draw over the last two bars automatically. See how there's two bars right there, 1, 2. And then the bar that's forming, it doesn't count it. But what it does is it draws it exactly on those two bars. Okay, so if you wanted to trade this, for instance, you know, like I see this right here, could you actually just go ahead if that popped up above that and take a quick shot? You want to see if it'll work? That's the way you box them in, by the way. You just simply box it. I like to use Touch Plus instead of a close, and usually do a couple, but you got to be careful, obviously, anytime you do multiples. And let's see if we can get something on here. This little box trade. Now remember, we're looking at longs because what? Our power trend is blue. So even though this is sideways, this is still an uptrend until what? Well, I wouldn't be personally looking at this going short. Now, let's say you got a thrust retrace. If they took out 75 or if they took out 67, I would be looking short instead of going long. But until they do that, they're still looking good to me to the upside. Okay, by the way, you can resize this box anytime you want. If you want to just take a bar, if it just closes up or touches the top of that box, you can do that too. Because until this fires, you can actually move this box any old way you want it. Okay? Now, that would be too tight of a box to me. That'd be more like just hitting the buy button. Okay? Which you don't really want to do. We want to box this in. So we're going to just go if it goes above mid-band. Let's see if we get anything. Now, I would rebox that, but unfortunately, we weren't able to. See how that bounced off of 75? Okay, that's a little late to me because I would have liked to have bought it right down there at that line. And by the way, if I wasn't doing it at 500 times, we could have done that. Okay, but everybody see how that box, could you have redone the box though? Okay, let's say that when this was happening in real time, you boxed it, it didn't go up, then it comes down to support. Could you rebox it to where it would have actually fired it right there on that bar? Yes. Okay. And when they bounce off support like that, if you rebox them, see that got like $320. That's not too shabby of a trade. Okay. Now, what about just taking some trades around mid-band, taking chances that they'll possibly break? You see this one looks like it might even break. That's 94 right there. See, it's breaking a little bit. Okay, now, is this actually still an uptrend, anybody? It's really not, is it? Because it's even taken out support, right? See how the background even turned red? So let me ask you a question. Looking at our trend and everything, now, was that actually a bounce off of support? Yes. That could have easily been another long trade if you wanted it. But with this actually breaking support here, if this does any kind of a mid-band and rolls over, that's a trade we look for too with that red background. Because that red background doesn't just show up for the fun of it. This red stealth doesn't just show up for the fun of it either. You know, is this going to be a trend change? Well, this one wasn't, and it even went back green. But this is pretty deep red stealth right here. So the possibility that it will. Okay, but if you don't want to get against the trend, and I highly recommend until you get good at what you're doing, let's just look at this and see when it really breaks, if it's going to break. Let's just fast forward it. There's a little box you could have boxed. Now that's definitely breaking down, wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you think that's definitely breaking down now? So what are we looking for? Anybody? What did I teach just a few minutes ago? Mid-band type trades. And keep in mind one thing you got to look at when you're looking at mid-band trades. Always look to the left to trade the right and see your swing. Okay, see your swing is right here, like so. Now, if they're going to get a lower high, they're not going to come that high. So maybe we're not going to get a mid-band trade. Maybe we're going to get a little bit different trade. So always be aware that if they're changing trends, you're going to look for thrust, retrace, thrust, and you want a lower high if they're going to continue breaking down. Now, predictor, which we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, will let you see those type of trades because in real time, it's actually looking at these swings. And let's see if it'll draw a predictor. If it does, we'll take a trade. There's a predictor. Look to the left to trade the right. Got a little swing right over there to the left. So if they come anywhere in this little sweet spot right here, anywhere near this right here, I would go ahead and short that trade. See if they do. Remember, when they change trends, we've gone from one extreme to the other. We're looking at more the mid-band trade, but keep in mind, you got to always look to the left to trade the right, and they shouldn't come all the way to mid-band if they're going to continue down with lower highs and lower lows. And predictors say in 57, 79 areas where they should roll over. Let's see if they do. This thing's heading down, actually. We got to get a retrace, though. We're not going to just sell a thrust. Can't do it. Let me fast forward and see what it did. There's another predictor. Let's draw on our chart again. See the swing again? They shouldn't be able to go any higher than that right there if they're going to head down. See the high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So that should hold. So our next trade should be right in this area right here. Okay? So you want to see if we can get that? Well, we'll draw a predictor and we'll draw our swing. And you shouldn't go any higher than that area right there. If they get anywhere in those two lines, I'll fire a trade. I'm going to have to kick it up a little bit, see if we can get it. Okay. Now, could you go ahead and be ready to box this? Absolutely. You want to just see if we can box it? Well, right now you've got a little low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, little higher, high. So could you box it right there? I would probably, more than likely, if it touches that line, sell one. But let's just box it since everybody wants to see boxes. It's already boxing, unfortunately. I'd probably take it if it touches outside that box, and we'll take two. See, it kissed right at our line, and there we go, we got us a trade. Bring your stop just above the swing, exit on close. Okay, that's the way you would do that trade. Move your one target out of the way, look to the left to trade the right, see where your next swing is. Next swing's all the way down at 38. You could actually, well, we got a predictor right there, so we're going to take some coin at that predictor too. All right, let's see what it does. Fast forward a little bit. That actually got us. Let's go ahead and go again if it gives us another chance. Hit my line exactly that time. Tighten it. Perfectly hit resistance. And I'd probably be selling it, but let's just wait for the box. That's fine. Everybody see that? Kissed exactly where we drew our line. So we're good to go, and we got a nice little trade. Okay? That's actually the way you want to box these trades, you know, is good and tight. And see, we got a nice little trade on that one, didn't we? So let's ask the question now, everybody. Can you tell by looking at these trends, you know, how to take these trades from now on? because you should clearly be able to see on your chart. For instance, if you look at this chart right here, looking to the left to trade to right, you can't take out that swing right there and still head down, right? So would that be a little trade right there at predictor? Actually, we called that trade in the room this morning. Remember that one? Now, when they come up and they take this out, what are they doing? Anybody? They actually, and we called this one too. Remember this? Kissed, and then it rolled over. So when you have this power trend that's this color right here, and it's stair stepping down, these are not longs. Okay. Now, does that mean we can't box them in if they do break to the upside and take a long? Yes, you can. Matter of fact, when we opened the room this morning, some of our people took a long right here and got 10 ticks. But we got a better trade when we actually boxed it in here. If I remember right, it took out 20, or it just barely came down to 23 if I remember right. Remember we had a line drawn here, and I even mentioned that it was a higher low. Okay. So get in the habit of, when you see red background, red mid-band, you're looking for these type of trades. Okay. If they don't change to the upside, to give an example, if this was going to actually head up, they would have to take that out. We talked about that in the room this morning, remember? And can they barely take it out? Well, sure, they can actually do that too. Okay? But if you actually look at these phantom type trades and also these mid-band type trades, you're going to find that you can make some pretty good money. Because remember, the area for shorts is this area from 4 to 5. That's your lines. Okay? That's where you want to kind of box them in. And you want to look at these phantom trades. Phantom trades are right up in this area right here. And if they go up in that area like that, you're looking for still a short trade. Let's see what it did. I got it going about 500 times. A little rollover. Nice little mid-band type rollover trade. Anybody see how you could have rolled that over with boxing it in? We actually called that this morning too in the room. See how these do though? You got a nice lower high and they started heading down. And you just box it in. Could you take the trade the moment it came back down through mid-band? It's a little riskier. If you actually wait for it to do a little lightning and then break, like on that bar, that's actually safer. Okay. Now, what is this trade? Anybody? Are we looking at longs yet? What says the team? No. No, you're looking only right at this very moment for shorts, right? So could you actually simply box this in right across here? This is that line 4 to line 5 area, and it clearly went down through it. Okay. Did that trade pan out too? Yes. Okay. Let's look real quick at gold because I want to show you, we talked about a phantom trade earlier, right? And I want to show you how you can recognize that in real time because it was called in real time. Okay, let's go to gold. And remember when we opened the room this morning? Let me get the gold chart all the way over here. Let's just go through a scenario real quick. All right. Here's what was happening with gold overnight. What would it take to change gold to the upside? Anybody? Thrust, retrace, thrust. If it took out this swing or this swing, you would no longer be heading down, right? Always got to look at your charts to see which direction they're going. Okay. Did it take out that swing? Now this is a little phantom trade. This is truly a phantom trade, line 7. And it came down a little bit. But what would you do if you took this phantom trade? And let's say you took line 7. Where would your stop be on this? Anybody? Let's just say you were looking at like this. You said, well, Gary said this is a phantom trade. All right, it hit line 7. So let's say you're short at like 1460, 80, or 70. And it comes down a little bit, like so, and like so, and then it pops up a little bit. Could you get out? Yes. Don't put it above line 8. That's too high. That's way too high. Because what I do personally on a trade like this, for one thing, when it broke Lightning 3, I'm very leery of a phantom to begin with, because Lightning 3 is really important. Let me show you. All right, that's Lightning 3 right there. Is Lightning 3 broken to the upside right here? It actually is. And did you know we've even got an indicator that'll tell you that that's a potential long trend? See it? That bar will flash. Because it's telling you that Lightning 3 was broken. Okay? So if you did happen to short this phantom, be ready on this particular trade to get out fairly quickly, because if it breaks Lightning 3, they're no longer heading down. They could easily head to the upside like that. Okay? Now, let's open the room, though, at 755. Let's just go over on the chart to 755. What a monster move on gold this morning, by the way. Anybody see a trade setting up on gold? What says the team? What do you think? Is that setting up for a mid-band trade? First time in after a trend change? All right, so draw on your charts. You got a high, you got a low, you got a higher high. So I usually draw a line underneath my low. I'll draw a line at mid-band. I'll see where the line is at mid-band as far as my support's concerned. Look to the left to trade the right. And I don't see anything through there except maybe this swing right here. So this is my little sweet spot for getting long. See there? See there? How you can actually take that? And there you go. Did that come exactly where we thought it would? We drew on our chart. So here's the thing about trading these mid-bands and everything. If you missed this trade way down here, boxing it in, or for sure when it broke this swing right across here, and then it pulls back a little bit and you box it in and take it as it goes back above resistance, you could actually definitely jump in that trade early if you were up. What triggers the horizontal black dash lines? Oh, you mean these right here? Those are actually just swings. That's actually when that gets a high and dances around, it draws the line across there. So when it breaks that, it's pretty much heading up. Okay, see how it breaks these little swing areas? Yeah, you can take those if you see it happening. Yeah, definitely. But remember this trade right here that we talked about in the room this morning? Now, what if you didn't get in this whole thing right here, but you saw this happening in real time? You're looking for a pullback in the mid-band. Predictors saying you're going to hit your head, and you got mid-band, and then you box it in, and off it goes. Okay? Now, remember Charles actually got in this trade. Now watch it. I'll show you how you do it. Because he was in, well, he didn't come in the room till 8:30, right? What does that little trade look like right there to you? Is that what we call a minimum criteria trade? Anybody? That's a minimum criteria trade setting up. And so what you're looking for is you're looking for a pullback. Let's see if we can get one. Here we go. Here we go. This is a minimum criteria trade right here. This is where Charles actually got this trade. Now remember, he didn't come in until 8:30, so he couldn't have gotten this one. This wasn't minimum criteria. This one is. Now, minimum criteria simply means that it breaks stealth and line 6 on a long and line 2 and stealth on a short. So this is where Charles actually boxed his in to get in that trade this morning, and you got a nice little trade. Took some coin, and then you just rode your runner. Okay, so that's a minimum criteria trade, and it will flash at you too. This should flash blue, see it? Okay. The yellow bar is only forming the open of the market. That's all that is, David. I like to do the opening box for oil. I like to do the opening box for the equities. Those are only boxes for that. Okay. So remember, everyone, what you're going to want to look for, again, is you want to look strictly for going with the trend, retracements, even deeper tracements if it gets it, right? Now, what did gold do in the room this morning? Does anybody remember? Gold kind of pulled back, didn't it? Now, was this time to go short yet? Anybody? You have support right under here. You've got a phantom right here. Anybody remember that little trade right there that we called in the room this morning? Could you have been long on that trade above line 1 or above line 2? And it actually worked out. Now, this is a little deeper phantom simply because it changed the background red. Okay? It did break line your lightning 3. That's a riskier trade to me than if it doesn't. But just like that other trade that changed trends, you can still take it. You just box it in, like this one right here, for instance. You box it in, and if it went against you at all, you got to get out. Okay? Because you don't want it all the way up here when you got in way down here. And by the way, if you see a phantom not work out, you can always flip them too, because usually they will go ahead and head the other direction if the actual phantom's not working. So over here, this phantom, even though it went deeper, that I called in the room this morning, was simply because it took out support here. It was trying to check the phantom. It did change our background red, okay? But if you boxed it in, you got you a monster nice trade. Okay, and that was called out live. Now, what if you don't trust phantoms? All right, what if you don't trust phantoms? Then what do you got to do to get in this trade otherwise? Well, you'd have to wait for a thrust, retrace, and actually break swing like that, and then you'd be putting your stop under here. Or what if you boxed it in at mid-band instead? Now, granted, this one worked, but do they all? Your entry was much better down here. And that's why we like these phantoms really, really well. Okay? Because phantoms and mid-bands are actually the key to the success of our traders worldwide, is that they watch for these pullbacks, box them in, pullbacks, box them in. Okay? Let's look at this little fake area right here, though. Let me get rid of lightning, and we'll just get rid of this lightning for right now. All right. What if you said, well, Gary said this is a high, this is a low, this is a higher high, so this definitely should hold on any kind of pullback. So I'm looking for a long at mid-band. Well, what if you box this in like so, and you're a really tight boxer, and you said, you know what, if it breaks that box at all, I'm going to go ahead and take that trade long, and it never broke it. Okay, so you keep boxing it. Like just under mid-band, you say, okay, if it breaks that, I'm going to go long. Well, you might have gone long there, okay? So if you did do that and it comes right back in the box, get out, okay? Because the whole thing is that as a rule, you're going to get an A, B, C type move most times, okay? And when it broke down like this, there were people probably that shorted this right here, and they did get 10 ticks at least. And that's fine to short that. If, for instance, you came out of this box and you said, you know what, if it goes back in that box and it goes under here, I'm going to short this silly thing. You could do that. But you got to be careful because you were still ratcheting up. Okay? Your mid-band was still, doing this old dancing to the upside. And if I remember right, let's just see what happened with gold. I don't remember exactly, but let's find out. Little yellow mid-band. Comes down a little low. You could box it right there too. See there how it's still flatlining so far. Still flat. There it is. See it crooking up. That's ratcheting, and mid-band is actually growing as we go. And look at that mid-band right there even. That's definitely the way to trade. I mean, if you look at this, you're going to find it time and time again. If you'll box these in, if they don't go your way like right away, then you got to get out pretty quick. Or you got to look to the left to trade the right, and you got to break the swing on the left before you ever go long. Let me show you how to do that. See this right here? If you box this in, you'd say, okay, I'm not taking this silly thing until it takes out that swing. And it never did that. Then I'm not going to take it till it takes out this swing. But see, it didn't break here yet, so this is actually your legitimate swing right here. See, that's on your left side of the chart. And then it broke some more, and then now this is on your left side of the chart. And now this is your little box that we talked about this morning, and you got your long. Okay? So if you do that, you know, where you just don't let it until it actually starts ratcheting up above your previous swing on the left, you'll be okay. And then keep in mind that as it starts stair-stepping back up on the right side, then it is starting to stair-step back up. Okay? But you got to be careful when they just oscillate around this mid-band, you know, because this is where some people get hurt, is they take a trade too tight. And if you don't get out quickly, you're going to get hurt. Okay? Let me show you Russell, what Charles talked about today, and then we're going to wrap pretty quick. Let's go to Russell real quick. Everybody remember this right here? This was exactly what was happening when, is that a phantom trade, anybody? It's definitely a phantom trade. So if you happen to have been up at 755, could you have boxed this in at phantom at line 7 area and shorted that little puppy? And the answer is yes. Okay, but when Charles came in the room, we drew this box right here. And we don't like that big of a box to begin with, okay? Because this is what will happen. Now, if you're up mightily for the day and you want to do a box like that for the stop, that's fine too. But see, that actually shorted outside that box, okay? Now, notice that the moment it did it, it actually went right back into the box. Just get out. You know, and usually when they do that, I won't usually short them again until they take out where they just made their stupid swing at, like so. Like so. And then see, they took it out and went right back above it again, though. See, so, you know, the thing is on this type of trading right here, when it's sideways, you've either got to put your stop at the top of the box, which it didn't take out with the close bar, or you'll get in, get out. You know, if it breaks and it goes back up, get out again. You know, if it breaks again, that one looked like it did okay, and then it got back above the line, you could get out again. But keep in mind that if you just continually do that with like 4 or 5 contracts, they're going to eat your lunch. So you got to be careful with that too. When they're sideways like this, you know, you just got to be careful getting in trades that are right at the open. Usually what you want to do is you want to let this little period of time right here at least expire till about 5 after with Russell. And 5 after even is sometimes too early for them, because see, there's 5 after right there, and that would have boxed in there. But you know, otherwise you just got to literally stay with it. Like here's a high, here's a low, here's a lower high, here's a low, here's a lower high, here's a lower low, lower high, lower low. Took out a little bit, didn't take out the high, and then went down. But you would have definitely felt some heat on that trade. Okay. So I know when Charles got in here this morning, he got right back out. Where he got back in, I'm not sure. I think it was right through here, more than likely. And it may have even been right here. I don't know. He may have just waited till it broke here and then kept his stop above here, because that wasn't too much of a stop. Not for a $5 instrument. But you also got to watch Russell, because sometimes it'll just blow right out of the box too. Let's see, already starting positive for the morning trading session, Gene says. Good deal. That's the way to do it. All right. Now, if you were trading Russell, to give an example this morning, can you see some extra trades that you could clearly see if you just simply look at your chart? Was there what we call a mid-band trade on Russell at about 8:45 or so, 40? And there was, wasn't there? You had this one right here. Okay. And let's see if you got a phantom trade at all. I'm just curious. There's a little mid-band trade. There's a phantom trade setting up. It's taking out line 3, but let's see if that actually works. Box it in. Nope. Didn't get a phantom trade yet. And that decided to change trends. So did you actually get long out of the box that we called this morning? Well, you could have. But keep in mind that if you don't get these little breakouts, see how that phantom trade never fired? And that went up actually, and then it just tanked. Remember, we boxed this morning right here. I drew a box this morning and said, you know what, if it takes out this box right there, you could actually take a short, and it turned out to be a good short. Okay. Let's see, Kurt says, was that lightning 1 you just drew? That was lightning 3 that I drew, but if you draw lightning 3 up here, for instance, see, that's actually kind of squirrely with that sideways like that. So when we opened the market at 8 o'clock with Russell, right in through here, let's see what it looked like. See, that was trending down, no question about it. But, you know, if you get in this sideways stuff like this, you can't really, you've either got to get out of the trade when it comes out of the box and back in it, or you've got to ride it if it doesn't take out the previous swing. And that's about 20 ticks up. That's a $100 bill. Now, that's not so bad if you're doing one contract, but if you're doing like 5, that's a lot. Okay, I've been using on close. We'll try touch plus 2. Yeah, the one thing you want to be careful of close, Louis, on your question, is simply that on close type trades, you have to close above the box. And if it closes inside the box and then outside the box, you lose some coin because it gets you in late. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this so far? What I tried to cover is some clear trade setups with the power trend. Even when it's choppy, wait for the trade to come to you. You know, if they're choppy, more than likely they're going to give you phantom trades to begin with, not so much the mid-band trades. Okay. And we're going to do this in the morning for real. Now, my personal preference is I don't like this instrument, but that's up to you. You know, to me, this had a good long trade there and then a good short trade. You had a phantom trade here. It looks like it was still heading down. That's a sloppy chart in my opinion. I don't like it. And, you know, and then ES is too slow. So those are not my two favorite. I just don't like the equities as much. Okay, gold and oil is my favorites because they seem to trade extremely well. Be sure everyone change your charts to 120. Do not be trading that old contract with real money. Okay, see how beautiful that phantom was we called this morning in the room? Monster trade too. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to do this again tomorrow with, you know, live money and everything, top step money and things like that. And we'll call these trades because these were called in the room this morning. You know, that trade was called. I even mentioned if oil was to break up above this box, we might be looking for a long off of a mid-band. It never broke. Remember, we boxed it and it broke down. So you can keep in mind that if you go against the trend, you know, don't let them just wick you. If they do and they go back in the box, get out. Okay, because this was clearly still a downtrend. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will do it again in the morning. All right, I think I answered all the questions, hopefully. Just remember, when you do your little box, you got to hit the insert key, and then you want to drag your box right where you want the trade to be, and then be sure and activate it. Okay, and we'll go over a lot in the morning in the room too. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.